Hey, Martin Campbell. Hey, thank you so much for joining the show today.
It's a great pleasure.
We're talking about your new action thriller Cleaner, which hits theaters February 21st, and the not Cleaner like the Apple series Silo. That one went way down in the ground. This one goes way up, skyscraper action, baby. So you and I know what it's about, but just give our listeners, in case they haven't seen the trailer, give them the basic premise real quick, log line
Well,
style.
it's simply about a woman, a woman who is a window cleaner, as simple as that. And she cleans the windows of skyscrapers. And what happens is that on this particular night, there's a shareholder gala, and she's because she has to work overtime. It goes into the night. She can see the gala taking place, and then what she sees is a group of eco terrorists come in, right, and take hostages. In fact, they take all of them hostages, basically, but particularly the committee, or should I say, the management team from the company.
Yeah,
And what we learn is how corrupt the company is. It's an energy company.
yeah.
And of course, she has her brother there at the same time. And she has to get inside the building to try and save her brother. And in so doing, confront the eco terrorists as well.
I love it. I love it. Now, when folks hear sort of that premise, their minds are immediately going to go to, welcome to the party, pal, to Die Hard, or I guess what we've seen Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol outside. So, we have frames of reference. So, I guess my question is I guess it's sort of a double-edged sword. How do you're trying to hook them if they love movies like that. They're like, oh yeah, let's do another action, terrorist takeover on a skyscraper movie. But then on the other side, how do you make sure that along the way while you're making it, you're cognizant to make it different enough and mess with our expectations a little?
Well, of course, it's interesting it's funny. You see, I must have seen 20 films of hijacking and terrorists on airplanes, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
is one compared to another. Yet,
right.
Die Hard was such a damn good film and such an entertaining movie. Of course, it
Yeah,
stood out, and of course, architecturally, we have the same situation where one person is, in this case, on the outside, as opposed to John McClane on the inside,
right.
and the terrorists are very different as well. By that, I mean, they are within the terrorist group. It's quite interesting because there's a coup taking place, right?
Yeah.
Between the veteran activist who is Clive Owen and the younger generation Marcus. Sorry, Noah. So they both have different agendas,
Yeah.
right? Unknown to Clive Owen's character, of course. And that I think is very different. And of course, it's a window cleaner as opposed to a cop in the same way. So, and I think the story is obviously very different but yes,
Yeah.
big tall building. Yes, in this case, eco terrorists coming in.
Yeah.
Okay. And one person has to right step up and actually confront this. So that's about as far as the similarity goes. Also, it's a woman, of course, which is I like the idea of women,
Right. Instead of Bruce Willis,
instead of Bruce Willis and you
Daisy
know
Ridley, and in this she's an ex-soldier, so it kind of she's got the fighting chops, and she's working outside cleaning the windows, and it's up to her to get back in and stop this thing. Um,
exactly.
Awesome. Well, it's really cool. Well, speaking of the cast, let's go there. You know, Daisy Ridley, gosh, it's hard to believe it's been 10 years since The Force Awakens in
I know.
2015. That movie was so special to me because that was I wasn't alive for the original. I was born in 84, so I just missed the original Star Wars. And then of
Yeah.
course there was the prequels, trilogy that Lucas did in the 90s, early 2000s. But Force Awakens was that first time I got to see, Harrison Ford and those people come back and a new generation with Daisy. So why was she? What did you see either watching her in the role of Rey or even since? Like, what qualities in her performance made you think, all right, she's the perfect badass action hero for Cleaner?
Well, two things. One is The Force Awakens,
Yeah,
obviously. which I think she did a very good job of. And the other was uh, quite the opposite, which is the young woman in the sea. I don't know if you've seen that
Mm.
movie. If you haven't, you should, because she's absolutely terrific. Couldn't be more opposite to this.
Yeah,
So she has the physical ability which you get in Star Wars, but she also has the emotional ability, which she's a terrific actress. And
yeah,
when you look at the young woman in the sea, she's marvelous in that movie.
yeah. Well, there you go. And then, of course, Clive Owen on the other side is the villain. We've loved him. Gosh, I guess he was Oscar nominated for Closer, but gosh, Sin City, Children of Men. He's done so much great stuff. I guess he was Sam Spade on TV in Monsieur Spade
Oh
recently,
yeah.
but talk about his villain and how that makes it. Well, we threw out Die Hard, Alan Rickman. We think of that sort of terrorist leader, but in this, talk about why it's this eco terrorist, and so you always want to give a villain a motive that maybe you could understand. Oh, but maybe they just take it a little too far, and that's why they're the antagonist. But you want to make it like,
Well,
oh, I can, I get where he's coming from.
well, first of all, I don't think he's a villain. That's the
Ah, I
first
love
thing.
it.
That says not a villain. The
Right.
point is that he's a veteran activist, right? That's what he
Yeah.
does, and he's doing a service to everybody by exposing this company and putting it on the networks and so forth, right? To expose the corruption and everything else.
Yeah.
He's anti-violent in the movie. What he doesn't account for is, of
Yeah.
course, Noah, who's a generation apart from him. He's
Yeah.
obviously a generation younger, who simply believes that what the Clive Owen character Marcus is doing is just simply not going to cut it. I mean, it's right. So
Yeah.
you have you have the Noah character who is an extremist, as it were, right? And he's part of the anti-humanist group, which, by the way, exists. I mean, they totally believe that the planet will repair itself as long as you get rid of all human beings. And some people may well see that's maybe correct, but they want to wipe every human being off the planet in order to achieve. And so it's almost psychotic in terms of the
Yeah.
agenda, if you see what I mean. So the contrast between those two, I think, is interesting.
I love it. I love it. And then I know we're up against the clock, but I do have to. I have to ask about your Bond days really quick because I want to remind folks you have a track record of action movies. They want to go see Cleaner. They can trust you based on your past work. So I want to remind folks you launched two of our Bonds: Pierce Brosnan's first one in GoldenEye '95, and then Daniel Craig's first one in Casino Royale in
Yeah.
2006. Um, what was about each of them that because it's hard to imagine before they're in the role of Bond, people aren't really sure, but then once you see them we are all like, oh, that's James Bond, that's all we know them as. But you picked them beforehand, so what was it about this Mrs. Doubtfire guy that that worked for Pierce and then for Daniel Craig, like why were you like, I know they can do this?
Oh, you mean why were they chosen? Do you mean?
Yeah. Why do you think they were perfect for it? It's like sculpting a new and it's before they're icons. You gotta
Yeah,
see it right before.
Brosnan was, apart from being extremely good looking and kind of looking Bondish, don't
Yeah.
forget he had actually auditioned before, and
Yeah.
they couldn't do it because he had a TV show where they wouldn't let him out of. And when he came to us and to be honest, he was the only one. I mean, we tested some other, I can't even remember who we tested, but really, right from the word go, I think he was. I think he was the obvious one,
Yeah.
right? So there wasn't much. There wasn't that much discussion. We went pretty much straight to him, and then with Daniel was, obviously very different because, he's not the handsome debonair kind of, right. He's tough, right?
Yeah.
Attractive, but tough and rugged and kind of kick-ass, and there's a kind of moodiness and a kind of aura with Daniel that is entirely different to any of the others. And, we wanted to bring Bond, particularly after the last Bond, prior to that, which we felt had gone just too far.
Yeah.
And certainly the producers thought that. So it was Barbara Broccoli, the producer, who she was the champion of Daniel. And I must say, to begin with, I had a question mark because, I was brought up on Connery and
Yeah.
Roger Moore and
Roger
so
Moore.
forth.
Yeah.
So he was, Daniel was sort of slightly left field of all of this. And then I remember watching Layer Cake, and he was terrific in that. And for me, that absolutely did it. And he was the perfect choice. But we did audition eight. I think we did 8 auditions for that.
Wow.
Different actors. Yeah.
Well, they both worked out great, and I think because of you, our whole generation grew up playing the GoldenEye video game as well. That was massive.
I wish, I
Hours
wish,
lost of
I
my
wish, I
life.
wish I'd had a couple of points on that. Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. Missed opportunity. Well, hey, I know
I
we got to
know.
run, so thank you so much again, everyone. Martin Campbell. It's the action thriller Cleaner in theaters February 21st. Again, the man that brought you GoldenEye and Casino Royale and The Mask of Zorro and so many other ones. You're in good hands with an action movie with Martin Campbell. So, hey, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it, mate.